Footsteps creep on the wooden floor. Shadows dance like they've been here before. A whisper floats where no one's near. It's not the wind, it's something clear. Beyond the cottage door, what lies in store? Ghostly tales and so much more. Beyond the cottage door, the unknown roars. Step inside, let the spirit soar. Candlelight flickers, the walls confide. Secrets of those who never died. Cold breath lingers, a chill in the air. Sit with us if you dare. Beyond the cottage door, what lies in store? Ghostly tales and so much more. Beyond the cottage door, the unknown roars. Step inside, let the spirit soar. Let the spirit soar.
Welcome everyone to the first episode of Beyond the Cottage Door, because the dead have stories too.
And sometimes they throw toys called Sparky and help towards change.
In today's episode, we're talking about the complete chaos of reviving an old haunted cottage.
What evidence we have collected so far and other people's experiences here.
FX Paranormal and what we believe in, and the steps we're making towards change within the paranormal community. So it's time to meet your hosts, the women behind the door. So let's talk about why we started FX Paranormal in the first place.
Yeah, people always assume it's because we love searching for the unknown, and while it is, it's so much more than that.
It started with a shared curiosity. We were already the weirdos at social gatherings who talked about haunted castles, haunted houses, creepy shadow figures, and people's real life experiences.
Yeah, seriously, other families do Sunday roasts. We were comparing different evidence and locations sat in the living room.
But it really did bring us together, whether it was exploring a creepy building, researching local legends or history, or just binging ghost docs. Honestly, it gave us an insight of people's real life experiences within the paranormal. It gave us something we could all connect over.
It's like the paranormal gave us a shared language, a way to bond, not just with each other, but with other people out there who've had strange experiences as well.
And honestly, it gave us the permission to go deeper into history, folklore, energy, spirituality, stuff that had always fascinated us but felt off limits when we were younger.
Also, let's be real, it's fun. The adrenaline, the mystery, the absolute thrill of hearing a whisper on a voice recorder when no one else is in the room. It's addictive.
So yeah, FX Paranormal was born from curiosity. Also connection and the desire to explore stuff that most people are too scared to talk about.
Some people laugh it off until something goes bump in the night. When FX started, we all agreed that our morals didn't sit right from profiting from spirit activity. Instead, we wanted to use our platform to help the community. As someone who struggles with their health, this also gave me something meaningful to focus on, something to get me out of the house and push myself in new ways.
I totally agree. This whole experience that we've been on and this whole journey has given us so much. It's given us connections to people who, are like-minded like us. It's pushed us to do things that we didn't think were possible due to personal and professional factors. But we are doing it, and we are, so proud of each other.
Did you ever think we'd get to this point, Shan? Because it's blown me away with what we have achieved and what we get to do with other teams.
It has me too, and honestly, if we continue with our vision and keep making everything we do the best for the teams that we work with and the best for one another, like this journey will just continue being as full and richful as possible. Oh my god, I need a Haribo and they're in my ghost hunting bag, Jade.
Talking about ghost hunting bags, what's your essentials? What would be in our bags? 5 things we couldn't investigate without. You go.
Well, the first item, you're probably going to guess, it's not like I didn't mention it a couple of seconds ago, Haribos, specifically gummy bears. They're my favourite. But love hearts and fried eggs when I'm in a certain mood, they hit the spot, not going to lie. Obviously Pops, he's my spiritual granddad. He was a spirit that chose me to be his guardian in his afterlife, and he guards me in my life. He gives me, warnings, and he just helps protect me on investigations. Remy the Rem Dragon, which was made by Jade and Rianne. I absolutely adore him, he's so cute. The cutest little Rem Dragon I ever did see. And obviously the Envirobell by Andy Guy. When that goes off, it makes my brain happy. I just go, yay! What about you, Jade? What would you have in your bag?
I'd take the portal that we built because I do absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Empath. Thank you, Andy Guy. Can of Coke Zero because I don't go anywhere without a can of Coke Zero. Lemon fancies or a chocolate occur for when your sugars are going low. That's a good one. And crystals. Always crystals. But I would need a freebie. My walking stick.
Yeah, let's be honest, you're not getting anywhere without that, Jade.
But we do need one more freebie. Sage sticks.
Yes.
Because we don't want to go home with more than what we came with.
I think we've all got enough emotional damage. We don't need an attachment to add into that suitcase.
So we get that one too.
The question we keep getting asked, why the cottage?
Honestly, this is one of those meant to be kind of stories. And if you've been following us for a while, you'll know that we don't say that lightly.
Not at all. So let's rewind a bit. Picture this. Us. Just planning a nice, normal day. A little trip out. No spirits, no investigations. Just a regular old trip to the local legend that is Mike Carpets.
Yeah, my mum needed some artificial grass and we thought, let's pop in, have a look around. Totally innocent trip, right?
Totally. But what we didn't expect was to walk into this little turning point for FX Paranormal.
So we're browsing around, looking at artificial grass, and we spotted a perfect office space for rent above the shop.
And we've been looking for a base for FX Paranormal for over 3 years, haven't we? Just nothing ever clicked. It was either too expensive, too modern, too far, or just, it wasn't right for us.
Exactly. So we asked about the office and they said we could have a chat with the landlord. Lovely guy.
Yep, and whilst we were chatting, he clocks our FX Paranormal hoodies. Thank you, Topsy Curvy. And he just lights up. He starts asking about what we do, so we tell him about our investigations, the charity work, the intended CIC, and how all the funds we raise go straight back into local causes and to charities.
And that's when he says to us, you know what, you guys might just be what this building needs.
Ominous but intriguing, right?
So he leads us through the shop and takes us into the back and shows us this old cottage section of the building. We saw the potential straight away.
And then, the basement.
That basement.
He believed that there was something down there. Said he felt it, staff had felt it, and people generally avoided going down there alone.
So of course, we went down there immediately.
And it was instant. We could feel the energy in that place. The heaviness, not negative, not positive, but definitely active.
And we fell in love with it right there. No hesitation, we knew we'd found the place. One problem, it wasn't for rent.
It honestly felt like it had just landed in our laps after lots of negotiation, pretty much on our knees begging. We managed to find the location we were searching for at a point where we'd basically given up. It was like the building had called to us.
Yeah, so like Shan says, after begging, pleading, and some more begging, we didn't waste any time. 3 weeks, that's all it took. Blood, sweat, actual tears. Mostly mine.
Definitely yours. I may have cried too, especially when I fell.
But we got it done. Cleaned it up, set the gear, made it safe and welcoming for other investigations.
And since then, the activity has just been wild. We're talking disembodied voices, heavy bangs when no one's around, breath sounds right next to your ear.
There was this one night where we'd stacked some Victorian blocks in the hallway. We continued investigating. We witnessed them fall, but one of them rolled backwards towards us, like something was saying, "Hi, I'm here."
We're getting doors slamming on their own, cold spots that come and go in a matter of seconds, and the priest's collar.
Oh my god, yes. We'd left a vintage priest collar on the dresser, and the next thing we know, it's been chucked onto the floor. No one near it.
What we love most about this whole experience is how welcoming the paranormal community has been since we opened up. Teams have literally travelled from all over the country and come through our doors and had their own experiences too.
It's become more than just a workspace for us. It's a hub, a proper spiritual centre, and every penny raised from bookings goes back into helping charities.
That's what it's all about though, ultimately. Community, connection, whether it's through the living or the other side.
So yeah, we go out for artificial grass, maybe an office, and come home with a haunted cottage and a whole new chapter for FX Paranormal.
As you do, just your typical Monday, ain't that right, guys?
We'll be diving deeper into some of the specific investigations and evidence that we've captured at the cottage in each episode, so make sure you subscribe and following to keep up with that.
And if you've visited us and had your own experiences, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to show some of your evidence, some of the clips feature you on this podcast. So send us a message and drop a comment below so we can see the experiences that you've had.
Thanks for listening, and remember, sometimes the best things happening when you're not looking for them.
Especially at Mike's Carpets. So in this next section, we're talking about haunted home ownership, the expectation versus the reality. Because ghosts don't pay rent, they don't help with renovations or clean up.
No, in fact, they cause more mess by throwing squishy toys. Sparky went flying.
We've also had someone or something knock over the toy bricks in the nursery. We've also had a priest's collar decide to go flying as well.
It's definitely a draining experience, especially to renovate whilst having paranormal experiences. You're tired, exhausted from the hard work, and then extra drained from the spirit activity.
Yeah, and we were absolute crazy people and decided that we were going to get it done with a 3-week deadline. So, we're all still recovering. I know my back's still not right from the fall I had.
That was bad. That brings me on to safety. How do we keep ourselves and others safe?
Yeah, we are known for ghosts, but we also want to make sure that no one ends up leaving with a sprained ankle, a concussion, a broken bone. What we want you to leave with is good evidence and a good spooky story.
Exactly. So we've been working hard behind the scenes to bring everything up to standard.
Old buildings are known for their charm. They really, really are. But they're also known for their uneven flooring, random steps and rugs that like to creep up on you.
We've secured down and made everything as safe as possible. Added clear signage, did a full sweep to highlight anything dodgy underfoot.
We've made so many improvements throughout the building. We've made places more accessible. We've opened up places that, we didn't think we could get accessible. And we've provided the hard hats, so no one has to go home or worry about a concussion.
We've updated our risk assessments, and now we walk guests through basic safety stuff before every single investigation.
It's about keeping the weird vibes paranormal and preventing those injuries.
We've talked a lot behind the scenes. How do we keep ourselves and others safe? It's something that anyone involved in the paranormal should think about.
Yeah, and also, how do you set boundaries while still being there for people? Those who are genuinely seeking help or just curious about the unknown.
Because let's be real, once they know what we do here, the messages start rolling in. Everything from, my light flickered, am I haunted, to stuff like, I want to be part of what you do, which isn't as easy as it was before. Before we took this from a passion to a professional status, we have to have protocols in place.
As much as we want to help people and get as many people involved, and we honestly really do, us as FX are really passionate about that. But there are other factors now to consider. There's legalities, there's processes, protocols, and they are done to keep us and our visitors safe. That's why we have specific systems in place for the This Cottage.
Like the cameras, every room covered, not just for activity, but for us and guests as well.
And we're never here alone, ever. Pairs only, non-negotiable. Plus, we've got team members off site who are on speed dial, ready to jump in if we need any help or support.
Even the path to the car park as well. We might be ghost nerds, but we're not stupid. Wandering through pitch black streets at night is a hard nope.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We deeply believe that the paranormal should be accessible. You don't need fancy gear or a ghost show to start having questions about the paranormal or to get involved.
But what we do need, as a community, is a better understanding of boundaries. Not everything can be solved over DMs. Not every vibe is an emergency.
And sometimes it's really, really important to draw the line between your passion and your profession. Because this line of work, it gets into your head, it gets into your sleep, it gets into your dreams. It's a constant. Like one day blends into the next. Like we've had nights where we're here until early mornings getting stuff ready. Do you know what I mean? It becomes your whole life.
And some folks, the line between support and dependency gets blurred. We've had to learn how to say, we are here to help, but we're not therapists and we're not healers.
Yeah, so if you are feeling unsafe, that's mentally or physically, we'll always recommend connecting you with the right professionals. Paranormal stuff can be deeply spiritual and very personal, and that means that sometimes things get emotional, psychological, and we have to respect that, and we have to put your well-being as visitors and guests at our cottage first.
We've got to protect our energy too. You can't pour from an empty cup. You definitely can't ghost hunt when you're burnt out.
So whether you're a paranormal investigator, a sensitive, or just someone who's experiencing something weird on the ring cam, please remember that your safety and ours always comes first, non-negotiable.
We can be curious and cautious. We can be open and protected. That's how we keep going, safely, ethically, and with our sanity intact. Sometimes.
Mostly. On days that end in day. Yeah. So if you have any questions or any experiences to share, hit us up on socials, but you know the drill, boundaries. So our last segment of our first ever podcast is a listener's tale. It's come from the lovely Kaylee and it's quite a personal story. So we want to say a massive thank you for sharing this with us. So it starts with, when I was about 9 or 10, my granddad was ill and was in the hospital. I had stayed with family the week before, but this night I had stayed at my granddad's house. At 1 or 2 a.m, I was woken by a hand on my leg. When I woke, I saw my granddad sitting at the end of the bed, smiling at me. I said, "Granddad, you're back." I was so happy to see him. He then said, "My little angel, would you mind doing me a big favour and look after your mum?" I told him I would. He said, "I know you would, my angel. Now let's get you tucked back into bed. You need to sleep." To which he did. He kissed my head and told me he loved me, and I fell asleep happy. The next morning I walked out of my room into the kitchen where my mum was sitting slumped over a cup of coffee. I asked my mum where Grandad was, to which she lifted her head and I could see she had been crying. She had red, puffy eyes. When she looked at me, she beckoned me over to her, hugged me, and then with a heavy heart she told me that my granddad had passed away. I didn't want to believe her as I had just seen my granddad in my room last night, but unfortunately my granddad died at 1 or 2 that morning. Is this a paranormal experience, or is it the subconscious accepting that the listener's granddad is nearing the end of his life? Did the listener's granddad dream invade to say goodbye?
I think it's both. What do you think?
I also think it's both. I think as children we are more open-minded. We're not as guarded as what we become in adulthood. And I think that family members, especially if you have a strong connection in life, carry that connection in the afterlife too. There is always that saying, your loved ones always walk with you each day, and I do believe that this is part of both. I believe it was her granddad offering that comfort and saying goodbye.
Definitely. Have we ever experienced anything like this when a loved one has passed away? Shan, have you got any experiences?
Yeah, I probably speak about the experience that you also experienced alongside with me, and we was on the way to a paranormal investigation, and this specific day I'd had a really, really, really bad day. And Jade and Rianne picked up on my mood straight away. And it wasn't that much long after my mum had passed away. So Jade looks at me and she said, look, get it all out, have a cry, let's cry it all out, and then we can move on from it. Get those feelings out, start afresh. Because obviously we know investigating when you're feeling vulnerable, it's not a good thing, and obviously we are very close, so it was a time to share. So I'd got everything off my chest, and then I do strongly believe that this was such a spiritual experience for myself. Rianne, she usually has the GPS on her phone rather on the car, because the one on the app is more updated with any changes. It's, a more up-to-date app. So the traffic alerts were turned off on the car. And this specific day, after I'd cried my heart, poured my heart out, these specific songs came on with no interruptions in between from the radio. And every single song that was played was relevant to what we spoke about in one way or another. And I feel like that, to me, I would never say it's a paranormal experience, because at that point I was not collecting evidence towards proof of the afterlife. It wasn't a scientific thing. It wasn't like I called forward and asked someone to manipulate the radio in the car. To me, that's a spiritual experience because it's personal. It was an intimate moment. But yeah, have you ever experienced anything to do with a loved one making a connection, or?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, when I was younger, I was asleep and I felt like I was having, the only way I can explain it is like the most ultimate vivid dream ever. And this gentleman come forward to me and he said, I want you to tell your nana that I'm sorry. And I was asking, who are you? Why do I need to tell her that you're sorry? And he was saying to me, it doesn't matter why, it doesn't matter who I am. And I was like, I can't speak to strangers. I was only young at this point. And he was like, I'm not a stranger. And he was getting a little bit frustrated. And he said, tell your nana I'm sorry. And I woke up and I was absolutely cold, like freezing cold. And I just went into a panic mode. And I run downstairs for my mum, because if anything happened, always to my mum. And as I opened the door, it wasn't my mum sat in her usual spot, it was my nan.
Wow.
And so I ran to her and I hugged her. And she said, oh, you're really cold, Cocker, what's going on? And I said, this man came to me in my sleep and he was getting really mad. And he said, I'm to tell you he's sorry and I don't know who he is and I don't know why. And my mum had come in the living room at this point and they was saying to me, well, can you explain what this man looks like? And I started explaining. They probably thought it was just a bad dream, but when I started explaining like who it was and what they looked like, they both went really pale. And I just remember my mum's face being sort of drip white and turning to me and saying, that's your granddad. But the weird thing about it was, my granddad would have died when my mum was young, and there's no pictures of him. There's never been any pictures in like any family albums or anything. I've never met him before. I've never seen him before. So for me to know that was like really weird, and they were adamant, well, that's your granddad that's come forward, and he did hurt my nan in life.
Yeah.
So maybe it was his way of apologising. And again, it wasn't anything I'd called for, so a spiritual experience and just something that I can't really explain.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying, obviously, when I read Kaylee's story out earlier, is obviously as children, we are open-minded, it's not just obviously in terms of spiritual activity or like paranormal things. I'm talking about kids are more generally open-minded about the world and everything the world has to offer. So obviously these experiences from such a young age, spirits may be able to communicate easier with children or people who are open-minded.
You guys will have to let us know what your thoughts are.
If you guys have ever experienced anything like this, a loved one coming to give you a message for another family member, please get in contact with us, drop us a comment, send us a message. We would love to hear all of your stories.
Yeah, we would.
Right. So thanks for listening to us on our first ever Beyond the Cottage Door.
If you've enjoyed listening, come back again by sharing and subscribing.
And next time we're talking about ghosts, graveyards and bucket lists, plus the time we got locked in Pendle Hill graveyard.
Send us your stories, paranormal bucket lists or your ghost hunting pet tales.
Until next time, don't open doors that creak.
Unless they belong to a haunted building that you want to own.
Let the spirit soar. Let the